Welcome everybody, it's Mr. B here with the Forest Update 0.68 highlights. This update's been a little unusual in that we've had 4 different updates. We've had the main 0.68 update, we've had a B fix, we've had a C fix for B, and we've had a D fix for C. Bit unusual, but let's crack on with the changes. Now the first change in this update is a little bit gross, but it's most hanging bodies in caves now have blood when hit. Now look at our face, that looks really gross, but I think it's a good change, as it's a bit more realistic. So here's the cloth you can pick up from the yacht, and here's the cloth you get in the suitcase, and it's been changed to match. The cloth was previously white, now it's red to match that and what's in the inventory. We've got these aerosol cans now that stick out of the case as well. They look really good. I wonder if we're going to do anything with them in future. When you see them up close, they look cool. Hopefully they'll do something with them. And here's a cloth that we get in the inventory. It's always been red, but the cloth that you pick up and in suitcases have been white. They've added a new option to toggle sprinting, so you can actually hold the key down and he will continue sprinting while you hold it down, or you can toggle it so that you hold it down, let it go, he will run until he's run out of stamina or until you switch the toggle off again. It's exactly the same as what they have for crouch mode. Maybe it's just a fluke that the enemy didn't turn up in as much force as they did before. But when I've been playing the game, and I played it for around half an hour, a lot fewer enemies turned up. And we're in day 105 in this particular game. A lot fewer cannibals turned up. I actually got bored and started shooting rabbits. We did get 2 armsies turning up. Very far in the distance. But they just eventually wandered off. They never did much. So in the whole half hour I was playing the game, we had 6 cannibals initially. Then we had 1 cannibal on their own. And then we had these 4 here, and one of them ran off. So there's been a lot fewer cannibals, but as I said, whether that's an AI change or whether it's a fluke in this particular game, I can't tell. So they've improved the texture and the model of the rebreather, but it seems to be stuck to the character's head. As you can see here, it's not actually on the body itself, it's still stuck to the head, so probably that's what they've done, is to sort of bolt it onto the head, if you like. The thirst and hunger messages now display in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, along with other things like how many logs you need and sticks, etc. But what they've also done is they've changed the message from when you take damage. It now flashes in red to make it more clear that you're being damaged. And when you're actually dying of thirst, previously what happened is you could just continue to take damage, because every frame there was a low chance that you would take that damage. So if you got the low chance every time, bang, 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 you were dead very quickly. Whereas now it happens on an 8-second timer. As you can see, the water fills up in red. There you take damage. It's filling back up again. Slowly, 8 seconds. Bang, you take damage again. So you can predict when it's going to happen, and you can therefore get to water to stop yourself dying of thirst. The same thing happens with food, but it takes a lot longer. So you can see your fullness there, your stomach, your food meter, whatever you want to call it, is actually filling up there with red, just like the water one did, to show that you are starving, you need food. And that's what happens when you starve. It takes a lot of health off you. As you can see, we've lost almost half of our health. You can see the meter filling up again. Filling up with red, because we're starving. Bang, there we go. We take more damage. But this time we don't take as much damage. You will notice that first one took almost half our health. That one took about a quarter of our health. So the subsequent damage seems to be less. I don't want to die, so I'm going to take some meds. It's nearly full. And there we go. We lose about an armor square's worth. Maybe the damage is random. So the stats page has a new layout. They've added stealth to the page as well. And it's got a new font. It looks good. I like it. But there have been an awful lot of other changes made to the stats page. We're going to go through all of them one by one. So to the strength display in the book, they've added a trend triangle. It's more of a triangle than an arrow. As you can see next to the weight, you've got a little triangle. That's where it will look like on the strength. We don't have one on this because the strength is neither going up nor down, but it's exactly the same as the weight. So now we have an approximation of your athleticism skill using a decimal number. Before it was like 1, 2, 3. Well, that's certainly the numbers I got. Others may have got more than that, but it was nowhere near as high as this. Now it's on a display level between 1 and 99. That's a new change as well. So one of the changes is better looking up and down arrows in the stats page for strength and weight. I know I've just read out what's on the screen, but it's really important. The arrows we now have are little triangles that point up and down. I don't actually think they're arrows, and I don't actually think they're better than what was there before. So for me, this isn't a good change, but it's just an aesthetics change. It's just something that indicates whether something's gone up and down. It's not a massive big deal. Now, you used to get a red cross icon next to strength and athleticism when you had a food or a blood infection. It was to show that those were the stats that were being affected. However, they've now been removed in favour of an indicator, the trend indicator, that is tinted in red to show what is actually being affected. So this time, the trend arrow will be red to show which statistic it's actually affecting. So as part of the revamp, they have also removed the percentage sign after health. So it is no longer a percentage, it's an actual number. In this case, it's 51. So against all those big nasty cannibals and mutants, I've got 51 hit points. Now, I don't know if that's a lot, whether it's very, very little. I mean, the bar gives us some indication it's roughly in the middle, so maybe it's up to 100. But that bar looks like it's sitting less than half. So it might be a bit more than that. Maybe it's 120. Maybe you gain health or hit points as you get further into the game. Not really sure how this affects things, but it's at least a number, and we can start to track things like how much damage a cannibal hit with a club, for example, does to you, or a mutant, one of the arms, he's swinging its arms and hitting you, how much damage that does. So we can track these things now. So we've now also got rid of the armour value percentage as well, just like we did with health. So it's now a hit point number that we can again use to track things like the amount of damage a mutant or a cannibal can do to our armour. So that's a good number to have. The devs call the little squares on the stats page, those little squares in armour called armour and stealth, they call them nubs. So the nubs for armour now match the colour of the armour you're wearing. So as you can see there, we have 6 nubs that are white. Now that's bone armour, and we've got 2 that are green. Now that's stealth armour. So you will see things like your deer skin shown up there as well. So the stats page now matches the HUD. So as you can see there, we've got 6 white nubs, which match your bone armour, and we've got 2 green nubs, which, as I said earlier, match your stealth armour. So the HUD now matches the stats page. This is a good change as well. So your strength now updates 100 times per game day, whereas previously it was only once. So while you're cutting down all these trees, your strength would not change. Whereas now, you can cut down all these trees and you can see the changes to your strength as you go along. That's a really good change and really welcome, so that you can see how things are progressing and what the trend in your strength is. So they've also fixed an issue where opening the book from the inventory was sometimes not working. The other issue I'd never come across was when you opened the book, then the inventory, the item you previously held was never equipped again. That's been fixed. So it would seem a bit strange to be setting fire while you're swimming in the water, so they have fixed this issue as well. No more burning when you're swimming. Not sure why this one was such an issue, but you can no longer crouch while driving the log sled. And if you're crouched when you grab the log sled, you will immediately stand up. As a balance measure, you now need to hold the reset trap button for 3 seconds before it will reset. This is in order to balance things up in the game. I think it actually helps. Because it used to be you run around resetting traps, bang, 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 bang. Now you need to wait for 3 seconds. It does put you on edge a little bit when you've got a whole load of cannibals running around. So the devs have saw fit to increase the speed of the boats. I think the houseboat is slightly faster. Does certainly move a bit better as well. But I think the one-man raft moves a lot faster than it did before. It's a lot more manoeuvrable as well. It feels like you're actually on a raft. It feels that you're actually being able to control what you're actually driving, if you like. The houseboat feels the same sort of way. It's obviously bigger and a bit more like driving a bus. Whereas the one-man raft is a bit more like driving a small car, if you like. It's that much more manoeuvrable. Previous to this update, the boats, the houseboat in particular, were just dreadfully slow. This is a fairly easy one. They've changed the sound effect for the fuel can to that twinkle, that clink, as opposed to the whoosh noise that it had when you put fuel into the chainsaw. So this one is long overdue. The sled's storage interaction scheme has been updated to match all the other game storage systems. So you use R to rotate through the items, and you put the items on the sled just as you always would. It can still only carry sticks or rocks. You can't mix and match. So now it's easier to gather water at the ponds. You can now get water up to ankle deep in ponds, and you don't need to look down as much as you did before. I didn't actually notice much change when I was testing it, but if it makes things easier when you're trying to get water out of a pond, then all well and good. So animal heads now have a trophy icon instead of the old head icon that they have. Little trophy. Lovely. And they fixed the missing lizard eye as well. When you hold the lizard head, there's an eye missing. See there? They've fixed that. So dropped animal heads now make a sound when dropped. And you see the trophy again. Did they not make this before? I can't actually remember. Splat. And that one's silent. That was a silent head. So they've improved the look of the sharks and of the dead sharks on the beach. Now I couldn't get a live shark swimming about in the water. I tried and tried, couldn't find one. But that looks like the old shark. It doesn't look like they've changed it. I feel like it's changed at all. That's strange. Okay, so what does it look like when you're holding it? That looks totally different. I bet it reverts to the way the old shark was when you put it on a wall. We fixed the wrong texture on dead geese. Now we can only see it on the head here, because when we kill them they fall straight to the bottom. But I don't see any difference. Never having hunted geese before, I didn't know this was an issue, but geese give up one piece of generic meat, and now you can hunt them, and now they will give up this meat. So they've moved the chainsaw. The chainsaw is now in Cave 3. The Cave 3 can be found near the cockpit, heading towards the ocean. You'll see some tents into the cave. Go down and down and down till you see some bodies hanging. There you go. Right behind them, you'll find a rope going down. And you can jump it because it needs the climbing axe to go down. Just jump down, but it does mean you're not getting back up this way unless you've got the climbing axe. A little corridor to the right hand side, ignore it. Again, you can use the rope, but you can just jump down. Sometimes I use the rope, sometimes I prefer to jump. There you go, and you see all the white light in front of you. Well, the chainsaw's just down there to your left. there it is, left hand side on the table. Grab a chainsaw, grab the fuel, it's behind you, right behind you. 2 cans of fuel. And then head down towards the water, keep to the left. And then you'll see a little pathway in front of you. Head up that. Between the rocks. Head towards the cannibal skulls, the cannibal lamps. Head all the way around through this water. There you go, you've got a rope to go up, climb up the rope. All the way to the top. Keep going. Then you'll see some bodies hanging here. Now you see a little pathway in front of you there. It's there between those rocks. Head through there. My torch is fading here. It's not great, but keep going. Around the rocks. And there's the rope out. And it's a long way up, guys. So that's the way you can get the chainsaw without the climbing axe. This is another issue I have never come across. They fixed the case of weapons not working after you've switched away from aiming the spear. So they've improved the look of the blood on the katana, but the blood is there all the time. Even when you equip the weapon, it's still there. And after you kill something, the blood doesn't change, so it's not something that changes when you have combat. That's the way it's going to look. This is an issue I came across myself after playing the live stream just after this patch had come out. As you can see there, the fingers are going through the hilt of the katana. Here the katana is further away again. And it's not even in the hand here, it's miles away. So they've fixed this issue. So we now have more breakable furniture in the cannibal villages. These little stools are not breakable, despite me trying. Also, the fuel cans are clearly not breakable. What are breakable are the tables and these chairs. Couple of hits it takes to get rid of the chairs. The buckets are not breakable either. They've now given the red man a new look. But the only thing I can see that's different is he's wearing shorts. So he's not got the usual cannibal look about him. Not what you can see at the back. Not got the usual cannibal look about him. He looks more like a human, but he's just wearing shorts. Only thing I can see that's different. There's also a change being made to dedicated server, and you can now join games through the Steam browser. Yay! Now, I haven't shown you all the changes that have been made in the 0.68 update, so please check the update notes at survivetheforest.com. All one word. You'll find a link to that in the description of the video below. So that brings us to the end of our highlights video for update 0.68. I think all round, another good update. I did think it was a bit unusual for them to produce a B, C and D patch to the original update. I thought that was a bit strange, but hey ho, as long as they fix the bugs, that's all that really matters. So thanks very much for joining me on the video today, guys. If you liked this video, please click the like button below on YouTube. This encourages me to produce more content for everybody to enjoy. If you subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow me on Twitch or on Twitter, you'll get notifications when I'm next streaming or release a video. So thank you for watching the video today. Your support is very much appreciated. And as always, enjoy the forest and be careful out there.